on which he is molding himself. When he has finished the molding, then comes this fantastic experience in you, and you awake in a tomb. And the tomb all along was a womb. That was where you were crucified, and you didn't know it. And one day, you awake in a tomb, and the tomb is your own wonderful skull. And that is the Holy Sepulchre. This week, thousands of pilgrims will go to Jerusalem, to the Holy Sepulchre. And some priests, quite innocently, will point out a place and say, that's it. That's where he was buried. He wasn't buried there at all. There is no holy place in Jerusalem. The holy place is your own wonderful skull. That is the Holy Sepulchre. That is where he is buried. And that is where he is sound asleep, dreaming with you these visions of eternity until you awake. When you awake, you are he, and he is your very own being. It is his purpose to give you himself. And there is no way in eternity that God can give you himself and prove it, unless he also gives me his most precious possession in the world, and that is his Son. He doesn't give me his Son to walk the street with me as a companion. He gives me his Son as my Son. So I look right into the eyes of the Son of God and know him to be my Son. Then I wonder, how could this be? Here a man a few years old, weak, limited, with all the frailties of the world, all the weaknesses of the flesh. And yet, God so succeeded in his purpose for me that he, the unbegotten, gave me himself. Therefore, I am unbegotten. Though I seemingly had a beginning in time, with the gift of God, the unbegotten, I now cease to be begotten. I have no genealogy, I have no father. I am Father, the Father of his only begotten Son. I tell you, this is a mystery, but mysteries of this nature are not matters to be kept secret, but truths that are mysterious in nature. They are not things to be hidden. The minute they happen to you, you tell them to encourage every being in the world that in spite of the furnaces of the moment, to continue, keep on moving, for you are moving anyway. But the end, listen to the words, O God, faithful Lord. He has kept his faith. He promised me in the beginning he would do it. Thou hast redeemed me, and then sent me through furnaces without my consent, without my permission. Take the story of Job. Here is one subjected to all the most horrible experiments in the world produced by God. And in the end he said, Job 42:5, I heard of thee by the hearing of the ear, but now my eye sees thee. He sees the only thing in the world is reveal God to himself, because God is invisible to the world. But his Son reveals God. No one knows who the Son is except the Father, or who the Father is except the Son, and anyone to whom the Son chooses to reveal it. So, how will I ever know God? When his Son comes into my world and looks me in the face and calls me Father, then I know God. And yet, in spite of this, may I tell you, the day will come, you will still be taken into the presence of infinite love, and you don't have to ask who you are or anyone in the world who he is. As you stand in the presence of infinite love, he embraces you, and you know who he is and who you are. For at that moment of the embrace, you become one with the body of infinite love. Yes, that God is almighty we know, but almightiness and omniscience are but aptitudes of God. God himself is love, absolute love. And I can't describe it except to tell you it is man. When you look at him, infinite love, and he embraces you, and you are lost in the body of God again, one with it, it is your body. And then he comes to the final journey. And now, I have told you before, it takes place, so that when it does take place, you may believe. John 14:29. So I share with you my experience, and remember it because it is going to happen to you. When it happens to you, you will not differ from any other being in the world to whom it has not yet happened. But it is going to happen to every being in the world. But you will be one with those to whom it has already happened. And when it happens, it may happen to you tonight. You'll wear the garment for a little while, and then in the normal process of time, you will take it off. Then at that moment of the discarding of this mold that God used to mold himself, you will be one with the gods. Your entire inheritance is to inherit the kingdom of heaven. Believe me. What that garment looks like, I can't describe it. I can describe the sensation, but it doesn't make sense to anyone in the world. But the final act, when he ascends into heaven and you ascend and live, I can only describe it as the seraphim. A golden liquid being, and you ascend as a serpent. It doesn't make sense, does it? A human serpent, as described in Isaiah 6:2. The face, the hands, the feet were human, but he couldn't describe the glory of the body. It is simply golden liquid light, because in the resurrection, man is above the organization of sex. This garment he used to mold himself and to give man himself. Blake brought it out in his wonderful poem called The Gates of Paradise. When weary man enters his cave, he meets his Savior in the grave. Some find a female garment there, and some a male, woven with care, lest the sexual garment's sweet should grow a devouring winding sheet. One dies, alas, the living and the dead. One is slain, and one is fled. If this is slain, the mold, it is over. No need for the mold anymore, for he wove among this divided image, male and female, the garment that is immortal, which is above the organization of sex. So he discards then this divided image as far as that individual goes. He is now clothed in his immortal, eternal body, and no need for the divided image on which God molded himself and gave himself to us. That being Jesse, which means I am. The same name as Jehovah, which is I am. The same name as Jesus, which is I am. So I tell you that fantastic mystery of crucifixion. It is true. It begins the play of God. If I went to a play tonight and saw a 3-hour movie before me on the screen, I could, as many people do, misconstrue the role of the actor and make of him, as people do here of a movie actor or stage actor, make of him an idol, ask him for his signature, do all kinds of things that make of him an idol. And then, making of him an idol, he hides